Internet, Eric here. I've got a movie thoughts request. And it's been a long time coming. She requested this a while ago. I've been tired and busy, and I'm finally getting to it. So, a new subscriber, or a newer subscriber of mine, goes by the name of Insomniac. Gotten to know her over the past month or so. Really nice person. Likes my videos. She's been a big supporter lately. She's watched a lot of the stuff, commented on a lot of the stuff, and she made a request. And Insomniac, today I'm going to talk for you about Edward Scissorhands. Now, this came out in 1990. Directed by Tim Burton. Stars Johnny Depp, Winona Ryder. We got Dianne Wiest, Anthony Michael Hall of all people, and more. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I do discuss plot spoilers and specific scenes. That's just how I go on this channel. So if you haven't seen Edward Scissorhands from 1990 for some reason, there's a piece of dust floating around. Watch at your own risk. So, basic plot of this is Dianne Wiest is the Avon lady in suburbia. And she's going to the houses of all of her friends, and of course this happens every year, and every year they say no. So she goes home with no sales, and then she looks behind her, and she sees this big castle. It's on the top of a mountain that she must have never seen before. Who knows how long she's lived in this town, but she's never realized it. Goes up there, thinks she's going to make a sale. And it's a typical Tim Burton castle, stairways, gothic looking. She goes to the roof and she meets Edward, played by Johnny Depp, and for some reason he has scissors for fingers. You find out that his father was an inventor, played by Vincent Price. He literally invented a human being, and before he was able to give Edward hands, he died. So Edward has been walking around like that ever since he died. Well, Dianne Wiest, her name's Peg, she knows that Edward shouldn't live by himself. She, in her infinite wisdom, brings Edward home to live with them. And it's a fish out of water story. Edward, who has never had human contact since the inventor, living in suburbia for 90 minutes to 2 hours. Of course, he meets Winona Ryder, falls in love with her, and we go on from there. All right. I fucking love this movie. It's so good. First off, we'll talk about Johnny Depp. This is early Johnny Depp, before he got like Captain Jack Sparrow and nothing else. Johnny Depp. I love the makeup on him. He kind of looks like the lead singer of The Cure, Robert Smith, but very gothic looking, very pale. You can't really see it here, but he's got cuts all over his face from touching himself. Very good at being sympathetic, timid. He does a lot of he talks very slow and very quietly. He's very, polite and very likable, very lovable, actually. His interaction with Dianne Wiest is very sweet. It's a definite mother-son role. She loves him. First, she's fascinated by him, but then she grows to love him like a son. And then, of course, he meets Winona Ryder, who looks beautiful with that kind of hair. She, of course, is dating Anthony Michael Hall. He's the asshole jock. But he falls in love with her because she's so beautiful. She's unnerved by him, but eventually she sees the type of soul he has. And I don't know if they were dating at the time, but you can see that wonderful chemistry between the two, especially between the scene where she does come out and basically tell him how she feels. A bunch of shit is happening. She says, "Hold me," and he wants to. Oh, it's a tear-breaking scene, or tear-jerking scene. She says, "Hold me," because bad shit has happened towards the end of the film, and he tries to, but he's afraid of cutting her, and he says, "I can't." and you feel his heart breaking. So she goes to him as he's standing and peering out the window, and she puts her hands, or puts his arms around her, like, so she's safe when he does it. And then just, you see his love for her and her love for him. Fantastic chemistry, and she's very likable in this movie. Alan Arkin as the out of it, not out of it like stupid, but he's oblivious to a lot of this shit that's going on. He's a good comic relief. Dianne Wiest, be it Lost Boys or Parenthood or Footloose, she was the woman you went to when you wanted a loving mother. And that's what she is. She's quirky, she's fun, she loves her children, she's annoyed with her neighbors. Wonderful performance, very likable, very sweet. Anthony Michael Hall. When I first saw this in theaters, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that's the fucking nerd from 16 Candles and The Breakfast Club. He's like, holy shit, man. From when you left The Breakfast Club and you came to Edward Scissorhands, what kind of roids did you get on? Because he's jacked up, for him. Scary, mean. He's the perfect fucking asshole. And it shows his hatred for Edward, because he knows Edward loves Kim, who he's dating. Just the way he uses Edward to get things, and then their final confrontation, which doesn't end well. Really good, and it's really intense, and yeah, Anthony Michael Hall, really, really good in this. He definitely is not anything you've seen in John Hughes. Highly recommended performance. Really good. Oh, I just dribbled a little bit. I'm very professional on this channel. The score, I think, is Danny Elfman, most likely. Yep, music by Danny Elfman. It's not as, it's very gothic sounding, very sweet. I love, especially, I don't know if it's called the snow dance or the ice dance, when Edward's carving this long block of ice, and Winona Ryder is just dancing in the snow. It's like the first time she's ever danced in snow, because they're in fucking California. And it's just such a wonderful score, and the way Tim Burton shoots it, her dancing in slow motion to the ice flakes is fantastic. There's some great comedy bits in this. First off, I love the look. I love how Tim Burton shows suburbia. It looks like it's from the fucking, Leave It to Beaver era or whatever. Even Dianne Wiest, when she's on her Avon lady, she's dressed like Jackie Onassis. Just like the colors and the landscape, it's definitely like, it's fucking Pleasantville, before Pleasantville was around. Great, I fucking love it. But the comedy is really good too. Edward trying to eat with his hands, his finger hands. That poor fucker trying to struggle to get one pea in his mouth, like that, and then he loses it, and it's just so disappointing. But then you see him stabbing the carrots and stuff like that. When Edward's sleeping in Winona Ryder's bed, it's a water bed. What could go wrong? She comes home early from camping. She gets freaked out, and he freaks out. And he stabs, the waterbed out of fear, and she runs out screaming. Everyone's consoling her, and then Edward walks out, sogging wet, and walks away. Dad tries to comfort him with what he calls lemonade. Lemonade. First time Edward's ever had it. Gets flat out drunk, and then it's just a funny scene. Like I said, I don't know if Burton wrote this. Screenplay by Caroline Thompson. Story by Caroline Thompson and Tim Burton. It is very quirky. It's very smart. The flow is great. Likeable. I watched this with my daughter. And this is what I'm getting. It's a great message about not hating people because they're different. My daughter was able to pick this up. She says, wow, Papa, they're mean to him because he's different. And he's being nice to everybody. I'm like, she fucking gets it. And it's got a heart to it. It's got a message to it. And that's really good in this film. And then there's some really intense scenes. Like I mentioned briefly, the final confrontation between Anthony Michael Hall and Edward. But when Edward looks through the window or something and he sees how mean Anthony Michael Hall is to her, and he knows he's a piece of shit. You get this intense Danny Elfman music as you see a shot from behind of Edward walking down the hallway, but he's got his arms outstretched, so he's scraping the walls. And then Edward makes it to the bathroom, and he's just looking intensely in the mirror, like, I'm going to kill this fucker. And he's slowly scraping his fingers down, the walls of the bathroom, just destroying the wallpaper. And I'm like, this man has finally realized what rage is. And I'm like, he's got weapons on his hands. What can he do if he's pushed? And then the scene where all hell breaks loose and the cops are after Edward because of an incident. And Winona Ryder looks at him. And she knows he'll get put away. She looks at him, she tells him to run, like go home, and he looks at her, and again, this fucking, grabs you by the heart. He looks at her, and he tells her goodbye, and he's running, and, he's slicing up his, shirt. Oh, he did this earlier when he's already pissed off. He's cutting off his human clothes so he can get back to his little gothic look. But then he's just running away to this intenseness where the cop car's following him, and of course it's suburbia. Everybody fucking knows everybody, and they gotta get into everybody's fucking business. They're chasing and going after Edward because they gotta know what's going on. And speaking of that, the neighborhood girls are funny as shit. You have the fat funny girl, and then you have the two other nosy girls, and then you have the housewife that doesn't get any sex from her husband, so she's trying to bang, the plumber or the dishwashing guy or whatever the fuck he is, and then of course she tries to seduce Edward, which Edward makes awkward. He in a very funny situation. And then of course she says that Edward tried to rape her type of shit. So and then of course they all believe her. And then of course you have the Bible thumper who thinks Edward is an abomination. So you have all these really funny, quirky characters. There's a lot of Edward cutting things bits, like the son takes him in for show and tell, and he makes paper dolls. Everyone knows about the whole Edward making figures out of the bushes, in everybody's yard. Giving everybody haircuts, cutting the dog, trimming the dog's hair. I love that scene where it's so intense. Edward hates his life right now, so he's leaving the house. Like I said, he's cutting up the human clothes, and then what does he do? He sits down in a driveway, and I just love this scene. It's kind of a funny tension-relieving scene. He sits down, like, I don't know if it's a dog comes down with, hair in the eyes, and he just looks at the dog and snips the hair. Dog can see, and he smirks. It's a little quirkiness like that. But like I said, I love the characters. I don't know what else, other scenes I can talk about, but absolutely love this film. Excuse me. I love to rewatch. Oh my goodness. When I get a request, if I own the film, and I haven't seen it in a long time, I like to rewatch the film. So Insomniac, thank you for requesting this, because I was able to rewatch Edward Scissorhands, and I didn't realize how much I absolutely love this film. And I put it on, my daughter sat and she watched, she's 5, she watched the whole movie with me, didn't get up to run and go play with My Little Ponies, didn't get up to go play Netflix on the computer. She sat there, she watched it, she got the message of the movie, and now she wants to watch it again. So, a 36-year-old man enjoys it, 5-year-old little girl loves it. Edward Scissorhands, take that how you will. Highly, highly recommended. Strong performances, great chemistry with the actors, fantastic Danny Elfman score. The comedy worked, the quirkiness, everything. Oh, Vincent Price. I didn't mention Vincent Price as the inventor. He's in it maybe for a total of 10 minutes, but he's he's got a presence about him. This was my first time seeing Vincent Price, when I first saw this in the theaters. He's got a presence about him. It's his voice, the way he carries himself. And he's such a sweetheart in this. You can tell how much he loves Edward and how Edward loved him, just in like the flashback scenes. But everything gels together perfectly. This is probably my favorite Tim Burton film after Beetlejuice. Edward Scissorhands. Absolutely love it. Highly recommend. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. Somniac, thank you for requesting this so I could rewatch it and talk about it. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about me. Tell your enemies about me. Click the bell. Don't. It's okay. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Send in those requests. I got a lot of stuff. If you check out my previous couple videos where I do an update, I got a lot of stuff coming for this channel since I've made it to over 300 subscribers, and for that I thank you. Cheers. And I don't know how to end this. I usually end these movie thoughts with a quote. Huh. And then she showed me the back room where she took her clothes off.